It's been a crazy couple of weeks, right? But let's get back into it. When Street Fighter 4 came out, not only was it a sort of rebirth for fighting games, it was also the dawn of this new information age in fighting games. So you didn't have to go to hidden Shoryuken threads or secret IRC channels or buy tips and tricks books or only get information at your locals. Now all the information was online. You could find combo videos on YouTube, you can find Twitter tech, you can find character discords. But the question arises, with all this new information about fighting games, is it easier for beginners to get into fighting games and learn about them? And are they getting the most relevant information, or are they just getting what was popular and is at the top of some search results? And what about the people that just want to find out about the FGC? Maybe they just have a casual interest and they just want to see some cool combo videos or character art. Well, one place aims to be a hub for all types of audiences. So you can meme about fighting games, but also you can learn, Ryu bread and butter combos. So what I'm talking about is r/StreetFighter, which is a subreddit. So I actually talked with Joe Munday, who is a moderator on the subreddit, about the origins of r/StreetFighter, what its goals are, and also their unique way of approaching online tournaments, which I think is going to be more and more relevant in the days to come. So let's hear what Joe has to say.
All right, so when did r/StreetFighter start? The story of r/StreetFighter actually starts with r/SF4. So bring this back, like far before my time even, bring this back to, I want to say 2008. It was Dr. Orpheus and some of his friends who I didn't know them at the time because I wasn't around at the time. I only started about 6 years ago. I want to say early 2016 when we realized that Street Fighter V was coming out. We all decided, well, what do we do, right? Do we move to r/SF5 and have a whole new sub and then try to moderate that? Or do we move to a more general, because what if Street Fighter V is bad? More on that later. What if it's bad? Well, now we can still have a place for people to go that is, you can post anything there. Or if people want to play the old games, because all of the older subreddits of like the Street Fighter 3 subreddit is, or was at the time, pretty dead. So we were like, okay, let's give a place for those people too. How the fuck do I wrangle all of these people who are really mad at Capcom, mad at Street Fighter, mad at their own communities for people not coming out, and just a lot of finger pointing and blame going around, and no one really I don't want to say that no one was really enjoying the games because there was still a huge amount of people who were enjoying the games. So anyway, kind of got to reel it back a little bit just for me, and like where I came from was back in the Street Fighter 4 era. I was writing character guides, basically. I don't know, character overviews maybe is more appropriate, because there wasn't that kind of content on r/SF4. So for every week I would take some character clips and just kind of throw it all together on one page and say, here's like a character discussion. Like, anyone else who mains the character, go ahead. Soul noticed that and was like, hey, do you want to be a moderator? And I probably stupidly at the time just said yes, because that's kind of like, I like to say yes to things. Started that, and then guy that went by the handle of Taco was like, hey, I want to run a weekly casual lobby for the subreddit. I was like, okay, I'm in. And we ran, it was big enough that we ran 2 lobbies, and then he was like, I can't do this week after week. And I was like, you know what, whatever, we'll run a tournament now. And then we started running tournaments, and it just kind of rolled from there over into Street Fighter V. And you see a lot of people come and go, and we are right now. The goals of r/StreetFighter and what those touchstones are, because to me, we actually put out a like a statement to the community at the start of our Street Fighter that we had 5 goals: to harbor community, highlight community effort, making our Street Fighter a place for fans to celebrate the franchise, have honest efforts towards in-game correctness, which is actually like a problem that we had in Street Fighter 4, where or in RSF4, where people would come in with the correct answer, get downvoted by some idiot, and then like a wall of text explaining poorly of why that correct person was wrong. Anyway, that was a nightmare. We're kind of done with that. And then 5 would be that it should be fun. And I like to think that we've gone after all of those goals and mostly attained that. If I'm wrong and you out there are listening to this, contact me directly or just call me out on this shit, because I want that stuff to matter and have something for that be what the community looks for, tries to be in terms of an online community. You have so much information stowed away on Discords, character-specific Discords. That seems to be how the community has meted out. Like, here's where we keep the specific stuff. And in that, there's 2 issues with that. Of one, the moderation for those Discords is out the fucking window. Like, a lot of the times, that you're not guaranteed to have a good, positive experience with that particular group of people, or it being run by people who understand how to manage a community of people. And then you also have the archiving issue of Discord it's a trash service for archiving information. You actually have a third problem in that Discord is not accessible to blind people, which I know is a specific thing to complain about, but there are blind players or vision impaired players within the community that I feel like we're not doing a service to by keeping all of that information hoarded in Discord servers, which they legitimately have no access to. They can access Twitter, they can access subreddits, all that stuff is openly available to them, but specifically the way that Discord works, the readers don't work for them. Anyway, this is just a huge problem for someone who is new to any new fighting game. Well, not specifically new fighting game, but like a fighting game that's been out for a while, like Street Fighter V, where things have changed over the years, right? This was a problem that was with SRK of the top post in that character specific thread was the stuff what came out day one, and if the person updated it with, as the game changed, as iterations of the game came out, like there was still some people who were like, oh, that's -2 on block still. It's like, wait, no, actually, 2 years later, it's not anymore, so this isn't true. Or, when you give too much information to someone who doesn't necessarily, or knows enough to get themselves into trouble, that's kind of what the fighting game community has been and kind of is still today, in that there's enough information out there, but like, how do I know it's the current stuff? How do I know what's fresh? And the way that we've, like, quote unquote solved this issue, our subreddit actually kind of solves this issue. The problem is that there aren't enough people taking advantage of it and using it to archive their own shit. So let's take that person who's using Twitter, right, and promoting their own hashtag brand, is that they made their video, they made their clip or whatever, and it goes to their YouTube channel, whatever the fuck. All they would need to do is then post that to our Street Fighter, then name it something appropriate, like has the character name, could have your name in it, and then that's really all you would need. It's just the character's name, and tag it with the guide lab work flare, because on our Street Fighter we actually have a button in the top right corner that you can press that's just like, here's your text search. You hit that text search, you enter the character name, and then sort by new. So now you know that the newest tech that is available that you can see that's the latest shit for that character. Or at least how I see it, that our Street Fighter can fix that issue of archiving the current ways that most people are trying to get information out there. It's not a perfect solution, obviously, because you're going to have this hyper specific tech, and then actually like the meat of the information that people are looking for might be several pages away from where they need to be. How do you make that available to someone who comes in today, which happened? 2 people came in today, the subreddit today, who were like, this is my first time trying to pick up a game. Where do I go? And it's like, how do you tell them to find that? Our solution is that we have an auto response that gives them all of these specific links that's like, here's starting out, here's where you have to go. But also the issue is that someone would need to openly say, hey, this is my first time trying to get into fighting games, and then here you go, welcome, like a basic welcome post. Because again, that's like the harboring community. We don't just delete that post, because if you delete that post, there's the issue. Like, I can understand the argument of, if you delete someone like, I'm new here, and then a mod comes down and hammers that, of them being like, oh, I'm not welcome here, versus having an auto response and then just downvoting the thread because they got what they wanted, they got what they came for. And it also opened up to, well, here's like the Discords you want to hop in, go to like New Challenger Discord, they'll help you out and specifically help you find the information. But again, that goes back to like this, like here's like all the guides that you could read, here's like up-to-date videos, and all of that is in our automated post. It's weird, right? Because there are ways that things are easier and ways that things are harder for new players, that it's not, it's a complicated thing to answer, man. So what does our StreetFighter have with the online local that we don't see anyone else doing or any other community doing? Which is not entirely true. There are other online tournaments that are fucking killing it, like Ronin Rumble. Jeff is doing a phenomenal job with that. Like A4 Arena has been around for years, right? There's other tournaments out there. I don't want to say that like we stand alone as a fucking monolith here, because that's not true. But we're pumping through numbers right now. And tournaments are getting not longer though, because we kind of have a system that gets people through the online experience very quickly, which is something that I feel like is very unique to our StreetFighter. It's focused on the players. Player experience is our number one goal. Then viewer experience, and then making sure that we have, well, maybe viewer experience, community is a 2 and 3, but we've gotten really good at making sure that players know where to find their next match, know how to report their matches, just arming all of the players with enough knowledge to basically run it themselves with very little input on a TO side. Like, I get why you wouldn't let players submit their own scores, but like, and then check if there's a problem, right? Of if someone says, well, I won this match, well, then you check it, because people are going to be honest most of the time. Because it would be the same as like someone at a local or whatever, and whoever's running the bracket is like, hey, who won that match? And the person who lost goes, I won that match 2-0. Everybody fucking knows that that's not what happened, and the other person who won certainly knows that, and they're going to be vocal about it. So like trying to like fool a bracket that way is nonsense. And then you also you draw it back to that person of that, if that person's trying to act a fool, then like the community corrects that person as a problem. Like we don't deal with people like that. Again, what makes our StreetFighter online local special is that it is community. It's people enjoying the game, which I think is, I don't know, the FGC forgets that pretty often, is that we just want to have fun playing games. And like outside of Twitter, outside of influential people in the scene trashing the things that they don't like and making people feel bad for liking what was more or less a trash product, which is now Champion Edition is pretty good right now. It's in a pretty good spot. But like, we should just enjoy it. And it's fucking silly that we turn it into this whole like serious business, and you got to be on that grind out for yourself. Sure, but like, we just have fun. And there's something to that, to have a competitive place where people can go to actually compete, but then just have fun. Because again, we haven't really heard. I can remember having 3 complaints in the last 6 years, and I don't know. I think that's something worth going after.
So thanks again to Joe Munday for joining us on this video. I put a link in the description to all the cool content that he talked about. So that's our Street Fighter podcast and the online local. And I think at some point in time, there will be an extended cut of the interview that we had, because we talked about a lot of different things. But I want to know, have you ever checked out our Street Fighter before? And when you were learning fighting games online, do you feel like the resources are out there were pretty good? Was there certain ones that were better than others? Or do you feel like things are missing? And since this whole situation's happened, have you joined any online tourneys? Let me know in the comments, and we have a few plugs from Joe. Catch you next time.
You can find me at Super Joe Munday on Twitter.com, or at RedditSF on Twitter.com, or just head on over to our Street Fighter. I'm Joe_Munday there. Monday with a U, not an O. It's different. I don't know, we got the podcast running. We got which comes out on Thursdays, RSF Radio, Thursdays-ish. It's been going for about 2 years now. The tournament, again, super long running. Always a bunch of people hanging out, getting good matches in. I like to send new players over to New Challenger, NCH, on Discord. Vinegar runs a really good community over there. Yeah, that's kind of it.